Today it's actually pretty amazing because 18 months after the crisis, after this massive intervention of the federal government in our economy, people are talking as if the crisis is entirely in the past. And really what it revealed was the fact that in Washington and in New York on Wall Street, the terms that matter are their crisis. You know, we define everything in terms of how the bankers are doing, how the CEOs are doing. For working people, the crisis has been going on for a generation, 30 years. We've experienced flat wages. We've experienced almost no growth. Insecurity has gone up. Austerity has been the word of the day. And that continues. 8 million people have already lost their home or will lose their home in the United States by the end of this year because of the crisis. Unemployment is highest it's been since the Great Depression. So we've seen no relief. But because profits have come back, bankers' bonuses are back, the political establishment thinks, you know, we've dodged the bullet. They think the crisis is over. But for working people, the crisis is still as deep and as severe as it ever was. Well, I think that a lot of the left in the United States, a lot of progressives, had a fundamental misconception about who Obama was and what Obama would do. They invested all of their hopes, all of their aspirations into this politician who made it very clear he was going to govern from the middle. He was going to govern from the center. And that's exactly what he's done. He's delivered on that promise to be a centrist, to try to reach across the aisle and pull the conservatives together with the liberals. And it's been a big problem for the left because they don't know what to do. But Obama, when he got inaugurated, he made it very clear what to do. He told people the night he was elected that his election was it only offered the possibility of change. That if people wanted change, they were going to have to actually push for the kind of change that they needed. It's very funny, we talk a lot about a story from the 1930s when Franklin Roosevelt got elected. And he met with some labor leaders in the night, right after his election, and they were talking about all these changes they wanted. And he said, these all sound like great ideas. Now go make me do it. And Obama said the same thing in not so many words to the labor movement, to the social movements, and we haven't held him to that standard yet. We have yet to really push him to make the change that we need. I think that this is a really incredible time for the U.S. labor movement because for the first year of the crisis, the first year and a half, it was almost like a state of shock. People were, they expected that they voted, now we get results. And in point of fact, the change in America has never come from the top. It's always come from the bottom. It's always been a process of people pushing Washington to make different social policies. And that's finally what we're getting back to in the labor movement. We've had big demonstrations on Wall Street. A month ago we had a big immigrant rights march. And I think you're just going to see more and more of this kind of push on the politicians. We just had a terrible setback in the state of Arizona. There's a law that's now been put on the books that basically legalizes racial profiling. Police and other law enforcement officers can stop immigrant workers and just search them and check their papers based on the color of their skin. And so we now have started to see a reaction to that. We've started to see people pushing back against that. And I think this is going to be the start, together with the pressure on the public sector, of a much bigger pushback from the union movements, from the social movements, from students. Because there's really no other choice. Obama hasn't made change, politicians haven't made change, it's up to us to make change now. For 32 years, Labor Notes has been around. We've been a network of union activists and militants who are trying to put the movement back in the labor movement. Our goal is to try to connect activists in the teachers union with activists in the auto workers union, with people who work at the telephone company, people who work at the post office, who they may be active in their own workplace, in their own union, but they don't ever have a chance to connect. And we all face very similar problems, we face very similar struggles, and we have a lot to learn from one another. And so we've created a very large, dynamic grassroots network of union activists that really believe we can change our labor movement and hopefully change our country.